What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another tier list. I have here at the bottom 12 different investment vehicles that I've tried in the past and currently have my money on. I built a multi-six-figure net worth by the age of 25, and I'm here to tell you which ones you should avoid, which ones you should pay attention of, and maybe you can get a thing or two from my experience and try these out for yourself. This, of course, not financial advice. I'm just sharing my experience with these different investment vehicles here at the bottom and ranking them from S to D tier. So let's get into it. Savings account. This thing is very situational. I'm all for having an emergency fund, but people overdo it. They go and put like too much money into this thing. I'm going to rank it as B tier because I'm all about having some excess cash. So for an emergency, but this is not meant to just park cash and leave it in there. You're probably actually losing money every year because this thing's giving you like 4%, 4.5%, and inflation's trending at like 4.5%. So you're basically breaking even. So if you have too much cash into your savings account, only keep like 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in there. And then the rest, put it into equities. This is not financial advice. It's just what I've been doing. But if you do have a savings account, be careful to not overdo it because it can be a trap. So I'll rank it as B, mainly because it's very situational. NFTs. This one is interesting. I just got my first NFT here. And as you guys can see, I'm a proud owner of a non-fungible token. This thing's going to go in D. This is an absolute joke. It was a marketing scheme. People got rug pulled. It was such a mess back in the crypto days of 2020. This thing shouldn't even exist. I don't even know how it was legal, but a lot of people were investing their money into them, and they're probably worth like 1% of what they used to be worth, which is just crazy to think about. So this is not an investment. This is just something that you shouldn't even think about, but it's important to highlight because these schemes come up every couple of years and people fall for it. People get rug pulled. So don't fall into this trap. Do not invest into NFTs or any of these different schemes that people have. So in my opinion, this thing is in D tier. Stay away from it. Don't even think about it. Roth IRA, you guys know where it's going to go. S tier. If you're actually serious about investing, the Roth IRA should be one of the very first accounts you open and put money into. I've been putting money into my Roth IRA for the last 3 to 4 years, and he has actually grown pretty well. I'm happy. I buy ETFs in there. I keep it simple, and it's one of the best accounts that you can put money on because by the age of 60, you can withdraw all of that money and be tax-free. So you have all of that compounding from 30 to 40 years, depending on when you start, all be tax-free, which is insane. It's one of the strongest financial accounts that you can actually have access to. And that's why they only let you put $7,500 into it. So the Roth IRA is one of the best places for you to put your money on, and it ranks as S tier. Let's talk about collectibles. I put a Pokemon card over here, but this can take many forms. People trade baseball cards. I used to actually have a shoe business, which is a form of a collectible as well. I'll rank it as A because I love collectibles and I loved my shoe business that I had when I was in high school. But these are not things that you actually run as a full-time job. A lot of people do, and you can certainly make a full-time income from running a collectibles business, but it's just very difficult because sometimes there isn't much of a market. Like if you buy a certain baseball card or if you buy a certain Pokemon card, a certain shoe, the market might only be like a couple hundred people. But that's not to say that you shouldn't start. I actually had much success running my shoe business back in high school, and it was a ton of fun. I learned so much from it. But the main problem here is that this is not a job. It's more of a speculative play that a lot of people make. So I'll rank it as A, mainly because it's very dependable on where you are in your career and how much money you have. Crypto. I have Bitcoin and Ethereum here because they're kind of the flagship models here for crypto if you were to categorize them as models. I'll rank them as B, mainly because I love crypto and it's a very speculative play within my portfolio, and I only allocate 5% tops to these things. Bitcoin and Ethereum could honestly be gone tomorrow. Like, we don't know. And they try to integrate Bitcoin into El Salvador, and that was a complete mess. Bitcoin drops 50% in a couple of months, which is just crazy. And for that thing to be a real store of value, why is it dropping 50% in 6 months? Why is Ethereum dropping 70% in a couple of months? Like, it just doesn't make much sense. And these things actually move pretty insane. That's why it's such a small place in my portfolio. But I think it's important to have some exposure to it because if things go well and the bull case actually plays out, then you have exposure to the upside as well. I actually used to trade crypto back in 2020, and it was a ton of fun. I learned so much of this market, but it's a B tier thing. It's not like a main thing. It's like a secondary, tertiary income that you have. So I'll rank it as B for now. Let's talk about bonds. I'm not against bonds, guys, but I'm going to rank them as C. We are young people. Like, I'm 25. I have no place into buying government bonds and having that in my portfolio. What am I going to do with 30-year fixed debt from the government at 5.5%? Like, dude, yeah, 5.5% is a good return for cash, but like, I don't have $1 million that I can just put into bonds and just call it a day and have like $55,000 worth of income. Like, I just don't. I'm in the growth phase of my portfolio and my money, and bonds today don't really have a place there. So I love bonds and they're very situational. But for now, I'll rank them as C. They don't play much of a big part in my investment thesis right now. Let's talk about options. I'll rank options as A, mainly because people don't really understand options a lot of times, and people are inherently scared of things that they don't understand. They think their money is just going to go blow up if they buy a call, which is bizarre. Yeah, options can be complex, and calls and puts and different strategies like leaps, cash secure puts, covered calls are hard to understand at first. But if you actually try them out and maybe open a paper trading account and trade in there so you have that experience, you can actually have a little bit more leverage depending on what you're investing in and what strategy you choose within the options market, that you can actually have magnified returns. And I trade leaps. One of my biggest positions on my portfolio, if you guys are following, is Meta. And I have a leaps contract that is worth over $30,000. And that's a big position for me. And I'm not trying to get into leaps or options trading, how they work specifically, but I do think it's a good way to magnify your returns and actually have a little bit more leverage within the capital markets and the stock market specifically. So I'll rank them as A. Let's talk about gold. I'm not against gold, but I'm going to rank them as C. Gold and bonds sometimes go in the same eyes for me, but they're actually completely different things, because people that buy gold, they usually do not trust the American government and the US debt. So they go and buy gold to be an inflation hedge. So it's funny enough, they're actually in the same category and right next to each other, but in real life, they contradict themselves. But in my opinion, gold has actually underperformed for many, many years up until like 2 years ago, where all of those performances caught up and people that are holding gold eventually did well. But gold usually keeps up with inflation, and it's not something that you just go and buy and build a very large net worth from. Like, you've never heard of a guy on YouTube that went from 0 to 10 million from trading and buying gold. Like, that just doesn't exist. So in my opinion, I'll rank it as C, mainly because gold is an inflation hedge, and it's more of a thing where, I don't trust the US government. I don't trust the US system, the capital markets. So people go and buy gold. I only have like a gold chain. That's the only exposure I have to gold. So basically none. So in my opinion, gold ranks as C. Individual stocks, this can be risky, but also very fruitful if you understand what you're doing. And I'm not trying to be like, oh my God, you got to be Warren Buffett or Bill Ackman to pick stocks. Like, you don't. If you have a good understanding of where we are in the capital markets and the economic cycle in terms of interest rates and unemployment, you look at the S&P 500, you look at the NASDAQ, see where they're sitting. You look at these companies' incomes. Are they making money? Are they growing their revenues? Are their market caps actually being fairly valued? I think you can actually have good returns by individual stock picking. I'm not saying this is all you should do. This is only a portion of my net worth that I have on individual names, but I'll rank it as A, because just like options, if you have an understanding of what you're doing, you can actually magnify returns and outperform. So in my opinion, individual stock picks are risky, as everything is, but it can be a good way for you to make money in the capital markets. So I'll rank it as A. ETFs. So very contrary to stock picking, ETFs are funds that actually have multiple different stocks within that fund. So let's take QQQ, for example. They have the largest 100 companies in the technology space under that fund. So you have exposure to all of these different businesses, which are some of the best businesses in the world. I'll rank ETFs as S, because it's a great way for you to diversify. You don't actually have to pick winners. QQQ is always adding new companies to the fund. They're doing all that work for you. So ETFs are some of the best ways to invest your money. This is not financial advice, it's just what I do with my business in my portfolio. Real estate. So this one has been a little controversial, especially because rates have been pretty high, and this thing is very market dependent as well. I'll rank real estate as B, mainly because I love real estate and I wish it worked better in these last couple of years, because I'm now an adult and I make adult money and I can actually buy a house. But things are actually super unaffordable. Rates are extremely high, and I'm not the biggest fan of real estate right now. And I know people say like, be greedy when others are fearful, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, I'm not buying a house that's not cash flowing. Here in Austin, houses have actually lost more than 25% from peaks. Like, think about it. You buy a house and a quarter of the value is lost within like 2 to 3 years that you bought it. That's crazy. That's just not a good business. It's very hard to beat the stock market in terms of how passive it is and how easy and fast and liquid everything is within the stock market. And to compare it to real estate, I think real estate at one point was a very great investment asset, but these days, it doesn't seem like it is anymore. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 5, 10 years from now, all these houses that I've looked at here in Austin are going to be double of what they are. But in my opinion, right now, real estate's not the best, and I'll rank it as B. Entrepreneurship and business and value creation is going to go in S tier. And if I had like an S plus, S plus plus, you would go in there. I think entrepreneurship and business is the best way that you can create money for yourself. I've run a couple of different businesses growing up. Last year, I was running a Turo business where I was renting out cars in the Turo platform, and it was phenomenal. I learned so much about payroll, management, accounting, talking to guests, selling to guests, marketing, all this kind of stuff that I've learned from just doing that. And it was great. And I made a lot of money from it too, because I eventually got a little better every day, and to a point where I built systems around the business that, started paying off. So I think entrepreneurship and business is the best way for you to put your time and money into if you want to grow your wealth. Before I close, guys, this is not financial advice. This is just my experience within these different investment vehicles. And I thought I'll share this with you guys. Let me know where you rank them at the bottom here at the comments. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. The channel is growing a good bit, and I appreciate you being here. And I'll talk to y'all soon.